How's it going, guys? It's Ryan here. We've got an awesome episode planned out for you today. This week, we are going to be talking about a lot of stuff, and we're doing it a little bit different than normal. So to start off, my name is Ryan, and I'm a cinemaholic.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Spencer Henderson, and I'm a cinemaholic. Apologies for the change of scenery. I'm actually visiting family right now, so trying to set up in a empty, unoccupied room. But I will be back in my normal location next week.
Awesome. And just going off of that, this week is going to be a little bit different, and it might be a little bit different for the next couple of weeks until we can really nail down the direction we want to go with this. Google Hangouts is kind of undergoing some extensive plastic surgery, and they're changing how they work some stuff. So we have to try and adapt with that. And the episodes might be coming out a little differently than normal. But like we said, here we are today. We're going to be talking about, first off, our watch lists, and then we'll be moving on to the wide release Hidden Figures, and then a Monster Calls, which both of those technically came out in December, but they're finally going wide, and we've got the reviews for you today. As always, we'll have in the description below the hyperlinks that you can hop through the time code, and you can skip back and forth through whichever reviews that you have seen to validate your opinion, or to finally come to grips with yourself that your opinion's not as good as ours. Either way, Spencer, do you want to start us off with your watch list today, or do you have anything else to add?
I don't. I like that comment, though. I'm going to start off with my watch list. My first one's a rewatch, and a couple days ago, I posted on Facebook that I've been going back and watching lots of movies from the first half of 2016, kind of in preparation for our best of list, which, by the way, guys, our best of list, we're going to be releasing to you guys on the 19th. Me and Ryan will actually be in a physical room with each other. It's going to be wild, like nothing you've ever seen before. So tell your friends, come back here on the 19th, because we're going to be talking about our best of 2016 lists. I don't think that's a video you guys are going to want to miss. But that being said, I've gone back, watched a lot of the movies released from the first half of 2016, which I think was a great idea for me to do. And a couple of them are going to be making their way onto my top 10 list, actually. So I'm not going to be talking about those ones specifically. But one film I did go back and rewatch that I think benefited greatly from a rewatch is Swiss Army Man. This was the film that was directed by, they call themselves the Daniels, and it went to Sundance this year. They won Best Directors for it, I suppose. But tells the story of a man played by Paul Dano who's on the brink of suicide and basically finds a corpse. It's a magical farting corpse that helps, he decides to use to try to utilize to help him escape this island. So it's Castaway meets Weekend at Bernie's is essentially the best way to pitch it. And this movie is a movie I needed to go back and watch. I didn't really, I feel like, understand it or take the experience in as much as I should have initially upon the first viewing. And the second time, what I found really surprising about it was kind of how profoundly moved by the film I was in the end. There's a particular scene involving a bear. That's as far as I'll take it. That I thought was so heartfelt, and it was so meaningful what they were saying to each other in that scene. And I ended up really, really liking this movie. I don't think it's perfect. I think there's a couple parts where it's just weird for weird's sake, and it doesn't quite work for me. I'd say I'd give this one an 8.3 out of 10. Ryan, I know you have stuff to add because I know you saw this movie.
Yeah.
So
I saw it at Sundance, and the Daniels were both there, and they got up and did a Q&A after, which was really fun. And that's one of my favorite things about Sundance is you get to hear these people who are passionate, who put years behind their projects, stand up and pitch it to you and kind of answer some of your questions. And this one was interesting because, like you said, the farting corpse is very divisive within itself just because of that. And a lot of people actually got up and left during the screening and wouldn't even finish it, but just their whole attitude, they said, and they achieved it. They said, we just wanted to make something original. They felt like there wasn't much original material out there, and so they got together and they made this, and it blew me away. I loved it. This was like one of my first of the year at Sundance, and it was just so fun. I don't know what I would score it right off the bat. Probably an 8.5, but I don't want to commit to that. I want to think about it a little bit more. But I love this one.
Fair enough. So the next movie I'm going to be talking about, I believe this one went to Sundance as well this year. It's called Other People, and it stars Jesse Plemons and Molly Shannon, and tells the story of a writer who returns home after his mom is diagnosed with cancer. And this movie blew me away. I had no expectations for this. I didn't know what it was about. I'd seen the poster a couple times scrolling through Netflix, and I decided one night I'd check it out because I'd heard a couple things. I'd seen tweets on Twitter saying that this movie was something special. And so I started it. The first 30 minutes, I really wasn't digging it. And then by the end of the movie, I totally turned around. In lots of ways, I feel like this is the movie that I kind of wanted A Monster Calls to be in lots of ways. It's a lot more honest of a portrayal of cancer than I was expecting from kind of like, yeah, I felt like this movie was to be a crazy, wacky comedy, especially from the first 30 minutes. And by the end, it had really become this honest look at dealing with loss and grief. And I was just blown away by it. Molly Shannon gives an outstanding performance. I don't know why she isn't in the talk for like best supporting actress, because she was phenomenal and blew me away in this movie in every single way, shape, and form. Her performance is really, really powerful, like really, really powerful. And, you know, I saw several powerful performances this week by females, and but this one might have been the one that blew me away the most. I'm going to give Other People an 8.8 out of 10. I think there's a couple flaws. There's a couple situational comedy moments that don't really work for me. And one character in particular, he's kind of a younger boy who I really don't understand why they needed that subplot in the movie. And it really turned me off and polarized me. So that's why it didn't get a little bit of a higher score. But this movie doubled me over with emotion by the third act. I was like a train wreck after I watched this movie. You haven't seen this, have you, Ryan?
I did actually. It's funny that we're talking about this today, because I think, if I'm remembering right, I went from Swiss Army Man at Sundance to Goat to Other People. And festivals are hard because you get so exhausted. It doesn't seem like it would be a very exhausting thing, but going movie to movie to movie and just sitting there is, and a lot of these topics are like heart-wrenching and hard to watch. So I feel very similar to how you feel. I need to go back and rewatch it because it was so long ago, and it was the third I had seen that day. So I remember I felt the same. The first 30 minutes, I was like, okay. But I was also like so exhausted at the same time. I feel like it didn't have as big as an impact as it can have. So I will go back and rewatch it. That being said, I really did enjoy it, and I probably would give it an 8.75 just without rewatching it, because it really is a heartfelt movie, and it's got that nice tone, a very even tone throughout of just an indie feel-good movie. So definitely like this one. And I think it is on Netflix, so I'm definitely going to pull it up and watch it again.
Perfect. Yeah, I would highly recommend it. As I said, it's a really, really great little gem of a movie. And if you have Netflix, which most people do, like, you should really consider giving this one a try. Like I said, the first 30 minutes were really hard for me to get through. But after that, it really, honestly, it's up there with like some of my favorites of the year of 2016. So that being said, Ryan, let's go ahead and get into your watch list.
Awesome. I only have one on my watch list this week. It's Funny Faces. I had never even heard of this, or Funny Face, sorry. I'd never even heard of this movie. A coworker suggested it to me, and I woke up early one day and I was just like, why not? So I pulled it up on iTunes and gave it a watch. This is starring Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire, directed by Stanley Donen, and it really, like, I need to watch it again because it's really, really good. Like, borderline could possibly make my top 10 good. Like, I really enjoyed this movie, and I don't really know what aspect of it I loved the most, but there was specific moments throughout where I looked back and I was like, holy cow, there are so many movies today that borrow from this and borrow from this. And that's one of my favorite things about going back and watching classics, is you can see how they've inspired filmmaking sense. And I actually was talking to a different coworker, and I set a goal this year. I'm going to watch as many movies as I can. But last year I tended to, oh, there's a 90-minute movie that I know is crap, but I'm going to go see it anyways, just so that I can say I saw a movie. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stop myself from doing that, and I'm going to pick up a classic. I'm going to go get a library card, and I'm going to go rent all these classics, and that's what I'm going to focus on, because this movie really, really did it for me. Have you seen this movie?
I have not, but I'm going to pitch something to you right now and see if you're interested. How about each week we watch one new classic and we talk about it in our watch list?
Deal. I'm in.
Okay. Yeah. No, I haven't seen this. You sent me a Snapchat of it. That was actually the first I'd seen anything on this movie as well.
It's a really charming movie, and it's kind of short. I mean, it's not 2 hours, so I mean, it's an easy one to just knock out. And I feel like I've gotten on an Audrey Hepburn kick from this. I've always enjoyed a lot of her stuff, and Wait Until Dark is a movie that's kind of always hovered almost top 10, not quite top 10 kind of a thing. But after watching this, there were several moments where I was like, I need to see an Audrey Hepburn biopic with Natalie Portman. And this is the movie that like kind of solidified that for me, and it blew me away with similarities between the two. So that's all I've got on my watch list. I'm going to rate it a 9.5 out of 10. So really, really enjoyed this one. It's a musical, so, I can understand it might not be for everyone, but that's me. That's me. So do you want to start us off with Hidden Figures then?
Yep. Guys, we're going to start by talking about Hidden Figures, which is directed by Theodore Melfi, and it tells the true story of a team of African-American women who provide NASA with important mathematical data needed to launch the program's first successful space missions. This film stars Tarji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe is, I believe, how you say her name. Ryan, what did you think of Hidden Figures?
I'm kind of split about this one, just because it, judging off of the trailers, I remember several times I saw it and I was like, okay, when's the Disney logo going to pop up? It felt kind of like, especially the marketing was putting it towards a Disney-esque movie, and that's not a bad thing at all. I would say it's similar to maybe, what was that Kevin Costner one last year about running?
Oh, McFarland USA.
Yeah, I'd say it kind of has a similar tone to McFarland or Queen of Katwe or any of those kind of Disney movies. And so that's what I was expecting going into it. My mom saw the trailers and she said she was really looking forward to it. And that's kind of what I would say about it, was it delivered on what it kind of promised. And that's kind of what it ended up being, was a very well-toned, even-paced, motivational, feel-good movie about a topic that really needs to be talked about, because I had no idea that this is true and that this stuff happened. And that's one of the best things about film, is that you can take these moments that everyone should know about and you can portray it. And so a very, very uplifting kind of motivational movie that I enjoyed. The chemistry amongst the three was awesome. All three of them are phenomenal actresses. Kevin Costner was fantastic in this movie as well. I will say I didn't really like Jim Parsons in it. I feel like I don't know. It's the same thing when I watched Home, or when I watch anything with him in it. It's always I'm thinking of Big Bang Theory, and it really pulled me out because it's like a weird Kate McKinnon thing. Is he always has that face and the same attitude, and I don't know how good of an actor he is, and I feel like they probably spent too much money hiring him when they could have kind of got anyone to play that part. What are your thoughts?
That actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that's possibly my biggest flaw with this movie is every time Jim Parsons was on screen, I was really distracted and it took me out of the movie. And I think you're right. It might be the Big Bang Theory. And I think that's why they chose him for this role. And that's unfortunate because in the Big Bang Theory plays this really smart, like whiz kid who talks really smart. And so it's like he's kind of typecast as that character now. And I agree, if we would have had somebody who maybe we didn't know who it was or just could have played that part a little bit better, I feel like that aspect of the movie would have been stronger. That being said, I really like this movie. As you said, this film kind of shows us a demographic that we don't usually see on screen. We have 3 strong African-American female leads in this film. And it tells a story, like you said, of a part of history that's really interesting that I was also unaware of. I'm sure most people were unaware of before going into the movie. But the thing that really makes this work, I think you said this as well, is the performances by the 3 women. I think all 3 of them did very good jobs in their roles. I wouldn't say any of them blew me away enough to say that they're Oscar worthy, but they did the job. It was serviceable. It was way better than I expected it to be. And when there are lots of civil rights movies out there, and there's lots of good civil rights movies out there. Sometimes though, it's almost like, okay, what are they going to add like here to give me something different? And I wouldn't say that Hidden Figures really necessarily gave me anything different. But that being said, didn't really have to, because it was a really fun movie that told me an educational story, as we said, that we were both previously unaware of, that I wound up actually admiring and even enjoying.
Which maybe for me, that's why I kind of had that Disney feel to it, because I feel like that's something that they do really well. Like those other 2 examples, McFarlane and Queen of Catway, however you say that. I feel like that's what they do. They take something, a story that is true that people should know about but don't, and they're able to present it in a family-friendly way that does teach everyone. And so I really appreciate that, and I don't want that to go away. I'm going to give it a 6.85. It was good. It was a good movie. It's not necessarily, this one wasn't 100% for me. There was a few times where I kind of checked out of the movie. The beginning was a little bit rough for me. Felt like a lot of the lines were maybe kind of like one-liners off the bat, just trying to get you into this world of where we're taking off. And Jim Parsons really didn't do it for me and distracted me every time. And he is unfortunately typecast as Sheldon. He's that guy. But it's a good movie, and I would definitely suggest it, though I can't rate it like super high.
Yeah, so I'd give this one a 7.8 out of 10. I liked it probably a little bit more than you did. I think that the story was really engaging, but kind of like you said, every scene with Jim Parsons really also took me out of the movie and dragged it down a little bit. I do think the charisma of the 3 leads kind of like evens it out in lots of ways. And yeah, I was not really, this movie wasn't really something that was on my radar that I was looking forward to. And I was really pleasantly surprised by what I ended up experiencing when I went to this movie. So that being said, I believe we are good to move on to A Monster Calls, and Ryan is going to go ahead and introduce that one to us.
Awesome. So we have A Monster Calls, which has been highly anticipated for quite some time now. The synopsis is: a boy seeks the help of a tree monster to cope with his single mom's terminal illness. I personally, I want to go back a little bit before I throw it over to you. I saw the first trailer of this one, and all I could think was Oscars. Like, this has Oscar potential for several categories specifically. But this movie is starring Toby Kebbell, Felicity Jones, Sigourney Weaver, Lewis McDougall, and it's directed by J.A. Bayona. Is that how you say
I
it?
believe so. That's how I would have said it.
So and he has done some awesome stuff. So I will end the kind of introduction because I'm excited to hear what you thought, because you read the book, right?
I did. The book is written by Patrick Ness, and it's actually one of my favorite books I've ever read. The writing in that thing is just beautiful. Beginning to end, I was really, really moved by Monster Calls. And you know what? I actually think that they did a pretty damn good job adapting this to a movie. It follows the book very well in lots of ways. You said the kid, I think his name's Lewis McDougall. Is that how you say it? Yeah. He is amazing. I don't know where they found this kid. That kid can act. There's one scene in particular that the movie's really building up to. It's the end, almost the ending scene. And when I read the part in the book, I knew this was coming out to be a movie, I thought to myself, there's no way they find a kid that can sell this scene. And they found a kid who sold this scene, guys. He does so good in the emotional scenes in this movie, which is really what this movie is about. As we said, this movie deals with cancer, which is a very tough subject. And, you know, this movie, kind of what I'm going through personally in my own life right now, this movie's very, in lots of ways, should have been a little bit more relatable than it was, I think. I think that this movie's heart is in the right place. So for that reason, I really enjoyed it. I do, however, think that I spoke with Ryan briefly about this after I saw the movie, and that is that they ruined the ending of the movie, because it's where the book ends, where this big emotional scene that's just absolutely incredibly acted. Felicity Jones should be nominated for supporting actress for this movie. In my opinion, I don't think she will, which is a shame because she gives a absolutely astounding performance in this movie. I thought she was great in Star Wars, and she's not working with as much here, but what she has, she steals every single scene she's in this movie. And the big kind of final emotional scene in the movie was so powerful, and it like does this perfect final movement with the camera and fades to black, and then we bring into like an epilogue scene, which really killed the movie for me. I wish I could have like walked out right at that point, and they would have made that fade kind of go a little bit longer. So I was just like, let me get out of here before people see like my teary eyes or whatever. And yeah, then after that scene happened, it kind of was just like, oh, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. And it really, in lots of ways, kind of derailed the experience for me. But I think the journey to getting there is so meaningful and powerful, and I think people will respond positively to it. I was in a not too crowded theater, but a little bit, and there were straight up sobs in my theater. It was pretty crazy how much this movie moved some people. And I think I was able to prepare myself a little bit more having read the book. So that being said, let's get into what you think about, because I'm curious actually to hear what you have to say about this as well.
Yeah. So I had texted you right after I'd seen it, and this movie, screw J.A. Boyena, or however you say it, because both of his movies that I've seen have wrecked me. He did The Impossible a few years ago with Ian McGregor, and that movie wrecked me. But this one destroyed me. I literally didn't cry as much as I cried in this movie all of 2016. I just like sat there wiping away my tears, and then I gave up 3/4 of the way through the movie, and I was like, screw it, they're coming out. Like, I'm here for the ride. Take me away. I came out of it, and later that night I was telling people how much it affected me, and a few people actually asked me, is this just another cancer movie? And the question kind of took me off guard, because I had never even thought of it in that aspect. I think it was executed very well. There have been a few movies in the past couple years that you look back at, and it kind of feels like the filmmaker needed the audience to react in a way. So they were like, oh, well, cancer is a relatable thing. If the character is dying of cancer, then that'll get people to cry. But I don't feel like this was ever even that thought crossed anyone's mind. I think this was very well executed. It was instrumental to the story, and you're going to come out of it not seeing a story about cancer. You're going to see a story about a guy whose mom is dying, and he has to learn to cope with that. And I think that's what worked so much. On top of that, you've got the layers of bullying and other relevant topics in life that will impact you. But it's a story about this kid's journey. And I really appreciated what you said about where did they find this kid, because he is great. And I feel like that's one thing 2016 did really well, is there were a lot of kids' performances and young adult performances that kind of came out of nowhere. And they were just these kids that no one had heard about before, that all of a sudden they're like movie stars. Like Sing Street was really good at that. Who had heard of any of those guys before? And they all knocked it out of the park. And I feel like that's something that was really solid about 2016, is we did get a lot of solid performances. Because I'm saying that, like you said, I don't know if Felicity Jones will get nominated, though any other year I think she could have been nominated minimum and swept. Some years she's phenomenal. The visuals are what stood out to me the most, which enhance the performances, because you realize that these people were performing for the visual heavy movies. They're performing in a green room against nothing. They're imagining all this stuff that's going on. So props to them, and props to the visual guys, because it looked astounding. And I need to think about the ones previous in the year, but I think this could take best visual effects at the Oscars, because it was flawless. It was awesome. Do you have any other comments? Do you want to score it, or?
I just want to add something real quick, because you brought up that person asking you if this is just another cancer movie, and I don't think that this is just another cancer movie. I want to get that out of the way right now, because this is a movie that has a very clear message that it wants its audience to walk out knowing, and it does that basically perfectly, in my opinion. And the message that has, I believe, is a very important message, and it's something that should be told, especially to kids. And the fact that this movie has the guts to say it in the way that it does, and kind of as bluntly as it does in some points, makes it so much more powerful and moving. This guy, yeah, as you said, J.A. Bayona, he in The Impossible, there's that scene where Ewan McGregor calls on the phone, and it's just like emotionally devastating. And this movie has like maybe 4 of those scenes, like in just one movie. And it's like, it's so moving that I really, even though despite that ending scene, I still would have to give this movie an 8.4 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. As you said, visually, it works so well. I thought the stories, when I read the book, I remember thinking, how are they going to show these stories? And they did it in a way that I actually really dug. It was very visually appealing, yes, and artistic. The aesthetic of it was different from things you usually see in a movie of this caliber. So I would highly recommend A Monster Calls to anybody. What would you score it, Ryan?
I'm going to give it an 8.5. I think the ending, I agree that it went too long. And I walked away with it I wish it would have ended when I thought it ended, because I feel like that little additional at the end is kind of like, in case you didn't get it, like, here's the,
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad. It didn't bug me. It just, like, reflecting, it could have been better without that. And I want to pull a comparison, like, because you said a message movie, and I feel like, at least for me, when I'm told that there's a message movie, my immediate thoughts is the Ben-Hur remake or Tomorrowland, where they literally end the movie with a monologue voiceover where it's like, you need to forgive, or recycling, it's good for the earth. And it's like, okay, I get it. Like, that was what you were trying to tell me the whole movie. But this isn't like that at all. This has a overarching message that it wants you to understand, but they never hit you over the head with it. It's conveyed through the characters' arcs, and I think that's how you are always able to execute it. You have morals and messages that you can pull out of the story, but the story isn't for the specific purpose of hitting you on the head, trying to get you a message. So 8.5 for me. Definitely recommend it. Prepare to cry, because this is a sad movie.
Yeah, you would have to be a pretty cold-hearted bastard not to shed at least one tear in a Monster Calls. Like, really, guys, this is a sad movie. So be prepared. Take Kleenexes or whatever you need when you go and see a Monster Calls. So, Ryan, what are we going to be talking about next week on Cinemaholic Productions?
Awesome. So next week we have two big movies, and we'll talk about some little ones as well. We are doing Silence, which has been most anticipated for many years.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that one. Spencer's excited for that. He swore he would not make his best of 2016 list until he saw it.
You guys will have Silence until I have seen Silence.
Silence, and also
Patriots Day.
Patrons Day, yeah, Patriots Day. And then we're also going to catch, there's an HBO original doc that's airing tonight. What was it called? Bright Lights?
I believe it's called Bright Lights.
Bright Lights. Sure. And, yeah, that's about Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher. So we're going to be talking about that, more of a Watchlist-esque, maybe between Watchlist and the wide release. So catch that tonight if you have HBO or an HBO subscription. On the 19th, we will be releasing our 2016 best of, like Spencer said earlier. So we've got huge things coming up, and that's all to lead up to Sundance. We've been talking about it a ton. He's coming down on the 19th, and he's going to be staying here for the weekends, and we're going to be doing a daily vlog recap. So each day we'll have an individual vlog about the movies that we've seen, the people that we've met, the experiences we've had. We really want to be able to focus on Sundance as a festival, and in just like a little bit convey to you guys like the experience that is Sundance, because there aren't many channels out there that are doing that, or that even talk about festival movies. And so we're really hoping to bring that to you. We will be in the same place, so we'll be able to have a different experience with these videos. And then we will be having our Sunday/Monday kind of recap episodes, talking about the week and the wide releases still. Anything that I missed?
I do not believe so. You guys can follow me on Twitter at SpinnyHand. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. We would love the subscriptions, people. And we'll be doing monthly giveaways as usual. We'll be looking at those answers for last week's video and contacting the people who won whichever ones they tried to win. So, Ryan, where can people find you?
On Twitter and Instagram at Rye_Gordon. Like he said, definitely subscribe, guys. Share this video. We think this Sundance thing is really going to be something fun and enjoyable for everyone. So if you've ever wondered what Sundance is like, or if your friends have ever wondered what Sundance is like, subscribe and share with them so that they can be watching these awesome videos too. Until next Sunday,